Hi guys, in today's video we have a review of The Boys Season 2, one of my most anticipated seasons of this year. Now that I've fully seen it, as all the episodes are now out, I'm going to give my thoughts on it. So, The Boys Season 2 picks up obviously where Season 1 had left off. Things are even more intense and more insane in this season. The boys are on the run from the law, they're wanted, and they're trying to regroup and fight back against Vought. The big news that Butcher learned in last season's finale plays heavily into this plotline, so first of all I'm going to jump straight into my pros. If you're a huge fan of the first one, then you must have been a huge fan of the violence and the gore, and I can promise you that it's even more violent, even more gory, even more graphic in this season. You know, they go all out with everything. Heads exploding, limbs cut off, whales being impaled, as you have seen in the trailer if you watched it. The gore and violence in this show either has you sitting there jaw-dropped at how violent and gruesome they actually went to be, or how dark they had decided to go in that certain moment, or it has you laughing at how over the top and violent everything is. And I can confirm that I did both at any other time. I love how these characters are developed and how their relationships are developed. Whether it's involved with Butcher, Huey, Homelander, it will grab your attention. Whether it is because the interactions between characters are really entertaining, like mostly everyone Butcher comes across with, or it's just super intense. Anything could happen in that moment. Mainly every scene with Homelander I'm referring to. You don't know what will happen with him. I just think that's the best thing about this show and this season. Even the most evil and sadistic characters like Homelander, you can feel mixed for them. You can hate them for what awful things they've done, but then you can also kind of feel sorry for them when things don't go their way. They've done a good job of making a really likable villain here, even though you have every reason to hate him. Just something about his charm you can't hate. And honestly, he doesn't get enough praise for this, but I'm going to give him what he deserves. Anthony Starr did a great job as Homelander. He portrayed so many what seemed like personalities, what the public will see, what the press would see, and then obviously his true side, and then when he is by himself, just so many different changes, and he does them all really well. Even how he portrays in front of his son Ryan, so I just have to give him praise. On top of that, also nailing an American accent as he is from New Zealand. Going back to the characters, I like that we got to spend more time with certain characters we hadn't done before. We get to know them better. We learn about Frenchie's backstory, Mother Milk's backstory, Huey's backstory, and just some other backstories of characters or personal lives that we didn't know that they had. Now moving on to the cons, and unfortunately I have a few of these to say. First of all, no matter how funny or impactful it is, sometimes they go a bit over the top with the gore and the explicit content. I'm all for it, but sometimes it can get a bit boring. They just constantly have heads blowing up. But for the most part, I find it really brilliant. One of the main problems I had was the main plot itself. It wasn't entirely clear. Sometimes I watch an episode and try and think of its importance to the main plot or the mission, but I couldn't really find anything. But the main thing that bugged me is made very clear in the trailer and in the start of this season that the boys are wanted. They could walk around in the street or in a normal shop in no disguise and they wouldn't be in trouble. No one would call it in. No one would apparently recognize them, which I thought they would. They acted as if they weren't on the run, they weren't wanted. And I guess since no one ever phoned them in, I guess you can't blame them for not disguising. But yeah, every episode something like that happened and it bugged me a lot. And to top off the cons, if you go through each and every episode looking at the plot lines or ways the episode would play out, you'd find so many plot holes within that. And sometimes with that I'd find that the writing was a bit lazy. Some things didn't make sense. I don't know how they got away with some things. For how powerful Homeland, the Supes and Vought are, I didn't understand how they got away with some things. For me, Season 2 is not as good as Season 1, but yet it's still a very good and enjoyable season, which has me very anticipated for Season 3. My score for The Boys Season 2 is going to be 84%. I'd like to hear what you thought of it in the comments and what your favourite season is. Hope you enjoyed this video, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next one.